Shop in Park City, Utah, and we're going to talk about this thing today, the Can-Am Maverick X3 XRS. But one thing that's very special about where I live here in Utah is there's a lot of national parks, state parks, BLM land, which means Bureau of Land Management, and in all that, there's a lot of great trails and roads that you can go drive these along with several different off-road play areas like Swing Arm City. We're going to talk about this vehicle today because it's unique. It is the first time I've ever owned basically an overland adventure vehicle. Everything that I've had in the past that's had to do with vehicles like this, from dirt bikes to UTVs, have all been off-road focused, meaning that even though some of them were street legal, I was still just taking them and mostly jumping them or driving them very aggressively in these off-road areas. But this one in particular is set up to go adventuring. So we have places like Kanab and Moab here in Utah where there's a great little city with a lot of things surrounding this city to go do. So having an off-road vehicle that's street legal means that you can start in town, stay at a hotel, or go camp somewhere, but jump on regular streets and drive out to all these different places, and then get on the off-road trails and drive and see lots of cool and unique things. And in the past, things like Land Rovers and Jeeps, that sort of thing, would be used to go do exactly what this does. But you'd be traveling a lot slower, and it may not be quite as comfortable as what you get with this. Going very quick over bumps, jumps, rocks, all that stuff can be very comfortable doing all those very aggressive things also. So that's what I really like about it. I never really was into sort of slower moving, crawling type vehicles to go do adventure type stuff. I like to go fast. Let's go through all the details of what we have on here. It's a very cool setup. So this is a 2021 model from Can-Am. Like the biggest difference for the upgrades for Can-Am really have to do with the shock technology. So this features a Fox shock with their Smart Shocks technology. It has 3 different settings that are available inside the cab. So it's a real easy toggle switch to go from, say, a sport mode to a comfort mode. The shocks are constantly adjusting themselves in those modes for how rough or how smooth the terrain is. So on this one, we have the Toyo Open Country side-by-side specific tire. And the thing that's great about this is not only does it work well on the street, but it does work well on gravel, works on rocks, and you can even air it down to drive in sand. So it's a very capable tire and works great with the setup of the suspension and even my signature wheel from Fuel Off-Road. So one important thing to note on this vehicle is that it is completely street legal here in Utah, and that includes a lot of things that actually come stock on this vehicle, such as brake lights, turn signals, that sort of thing. So you also have to have some sort of windscreen protection. We have this very nice electric adjustable windscreen. Because we are adventuring with this vehicle, you got to be prepared to sit in it for many hours. So this windscreen is actually quite critical for that. Obviously protects you from bugs and flying rocks, that sort of thing. And it's fully electric, so you can sit there and just adjust it as you drive along. On top of that too, the interior of this thing is very nice, very comfortable. It has everything from turn signals, light switches, everything very easy and simple to adjust and change, to a very nice stereo system with 6 speakers, nice little LED system on it. And you can see inside here too, there's even a nice setup to handle a big iPad for handling navigation. Unfortunately, we still don't have a good case for our iPad yet, so don't call me out on that. It makes it very easy and convenient from the driver's seat to be able to see where you're trying to go. It has what we call oh crap handles front and back, so that the passengers, when we are going over the rough stuff fast, have a great way to brace themselves. Everything is very comfortable. These seatbelts are actually quite nice. It's a retractable type system as opposed to a harness with, hard buckles that are not easy to adjust. Throwing my 3 kids in here, ripping around. Everyone's quite comfortable, and we have lots of places to put snacks and drinks. And speaking of drinks, there's actually a very nice storage in the back. You put ice and drinks in there, and there's a very nice little drain plug right here. So it's just a very nice system to be able to open this up, drain out all the water from your melted ice. Very cool setup. I like this a lot. So Can-Am sells all this stuff as parts that you can switch this from, an adventure vehicle to a snow vehicle to a vehicle that jumps, but it's all very easy to add on to any of these vehicles. It's all very modular, and everything works together quite well. So one thing that's very important with adventure vehicles is all this type storage and modularity to be able to carry everything that you need. And that's why we have this rack here on the roof to be able to carry everything from spare fuel to parts to even a chainsaw. We have a Stihl chainsaw up here. Adventuring down in Kanab, we came across parts of trails that trees had fallen over. I didn't have the chainsaw with me at that point. That's why we specifically added this. There you go. That easily, this very nice electric Stihl chainsaw fits up into this roof rack. That's kind of funny because you barely see much of it sitting up there. That rack easily fits this along with everything else up top. You have some water containers, fuel containers. Fuel always will be a backup by keeping it up here. You just never know how far you might go on a day. So on top of here also we have these recovery ramps. On top of that we have a brand new Pelican case here that will be for a whole tool setup. So this is the Can-Am Adventure Rack. They make this so that it has the mounts and setup for things like rigid lights, being able to bolt all these different units to it, where you can carry this very nice Demos shovel. And on the other side too, you can see that we have a jack. The Can-Am does come with a very nice set of headlights on this and taillights, but for moving along fairly quickly down a trail late at night, it's nice to have a good set of rigid lights on top to be able to see out the front as far as you can possibly see. And also we even have some on the back so that if you're stopped and you're trying to work on this thing or help some sort of emergency situation, you have plenty of light to see. So on the front end of this thing, we've added a nice S3 bash bar, and on top of that, a winch. Now the winch actually comes very much in handy. I actually pulled somebody out of a sand dune the other day. They can be everything from trying to get up a difficult obstacle that you need some extra help. That's where the winch could come in, or helping someone else get out of a bad situation. I've only had to really use winches a couple times in my life, but when I needed it, I really needed it. Very obvious is the rear suspension. It's trophy truck inspired trailing arms with giant Fox shocks. This whole setup is actually really incredible to me because I've jumped these things 150 feet, but on top of that, I get onto a gravel road, and this thing handles incredibly well. Very similar to how my rally cars handle. And the engine, obviously you can see the engine from back here on either side, but this is bone stock. This is a 900cc Rotax engine, turbocharged, 3-cylinder, sounds great, works great. It's a belt drive, so there is no shifting. I actually love the shift and love a clutch, but also the convenience of a belt drive, never having to shift, slowing down and just crawling over obstacles to going 65 miles an hour down a highway. this thing can really do it all and do it quite quickly. So one thing about the Can-Ams for me is my favorite one is the two-seater X3 with suspension upgrades, more power, that I've taken down to Swing Arm City, with like Tony Stewart and Leah Pruitt, and I've jumped 150 feet. I've also got an X3 Max that we gifted to Baldface that was set up with tracks, and that was meant for ripping around the backcountry and snowboarding. So it just goes to show you like how capable these things are and the variety of things that you can do with them just based on changing the setup. And this one in particular is a setup that I've never had before, which is something I'm really excited about because it's so much fun to go do backcountry stuff and snowboard and jump with my kids at Swing Arm City, but it's rad to be able to go adventure. My wife and kids love to go see slot canyons, go play in the dunes, go check out cool geographical features like around Lake Powell. That's not so easy with something that's only built to go jump. So this thing not only will jump, but will also take you wherever you really want to go on street legal and off-road roads and trails. So that's it. One of my favorite new toys. Can-Am Maverick X3 XRS Max with all the adventure toys on it. You should get one.